Hey, good morning. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we had a very early start this morning, even for us. Just by chance I happened to get up at 3 o'clock and saw a message on my phone, and it turned out to be a message from lovely May. Of course, I couldn't read it because it's in Visayan to Beth, so it took a little while before I actually got Beth to wake up and see it, because it seemed like it was from the night before, so we didn't really know. Turned out that it was a message from about 1 o'clock in the morning, and so this mainly is an update on the accident that Timio and his wife Anna Lee had when they were coming down the hill from a visit. So they should have gone to hospital straight away. They didn't. Anna Lee was in pain and bleeding. Heaven knows why they would not immediately be taken to hospital, but they were not. Anyway, come 1 o'clock they realized that this is not going to just go away, which should have been clear in the first place. So we went out. By the time we got down there, we're looking at 3:30. We got down there straight away, just by looking at her, at the way she is, her general sense of awareness. It was clear that she had to go to hospital, so that's what we did. We drove as gently as possible and took her to the hospital. Well, it turned out that not too much happening at the ER in that little hospital that we have in Taliban. What she really needs is probably ultrasound, and that was not forthcoming, nor even X-ray. But then X-ray, if it was soft tissue damage, would not have shown up too clear on an X-ray. Because of the area right in the groin there, the worry is that it could be a hairline crack to the pelvis. That's possibly one of the worst case scenarios. If it's a great deal of pain and there's still some bleeding, then clearly this is not a band-aid job. So as soon as it became clear that the treatment was not available there, then we booked a ambulance. Well, that turned out to be a small-time affair as well, because when we went along there, we drove along, got to where the ambulance can be booked. We were told that there was no gas in the ambulance and that they would have to wait until 8 o'clock or something like that so that they could petition the mayor and he would authorize the purchase of some gas. So of course we bypassed that, put 1,000 pesos in gas into the ambulance, and off they went. Timio went with Anna Lee, of course, and so did lovely May. Now I've told Timio very clearly, look, if you have any broken flesh on your leg from the wounds that you received, if they're not just bruises, then there's a risk. If you don't attend to that properly right now at source, there's always a risk of infection, and that's the last thing that we want, is for him to start getting an infected leg, which is so easily here. He's not a 22-year-old, and so it really needs to be attended to. Whether he will listen and do that, we're not sure. Right now we're waiting for we then came straight home, and we're here at home on the hill, and we're waiting for a message from lovely May. As soon as she has some news about the severity of what's going on or what the plan is, then we will be leaving for Tagbilaran, another day where you really don't know what's going to happen. So what the doctor did say at the ER was that it would be necessary to find out what the bleeding is and why that is happening. It's not going to go away. and it will take a surgeon to interpret the ultrasound and indeed to prescribe the ultrasound. Well, we've sent her to the private hospital of Romero in Tagbilaran, where she will get excellent treatment and she'll get it straight away. The ambulance, there's not a problem on that. That's already been handled. So what we're looking at now is finding out what the news is and hoping that it's not bad news. But this is Timio's wife, and as such she is part of our family, and we will take care of her, and we'll take care of Timio as well, and we'll make sure that that's done whatever happens. So it's just a matter of waiting, and we'll do updates because that's what we do. So hopefully we will be on the way to Tagbilaran for the best possible news rather than any bad news. I'll keep you informed, and thanks for looking in, thanks for your interest. Bye for now. Hey, good evening, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I wanted to give an update on a subject that a lot of people were very interested in, and that was Allan, the Canadian expat that has got himself in some difficulties. Just to give you a little background on this, let me see, he came to us and asked for help, and he said that he had handed over a terrific sum of money, 70-something thousand, don't quote me on the exact number, but I seem to remember it was around the 70,000 plus mark, and he handed that over to someone that he thought he could trust. I don't know how he managed to do that, but that was the story that he told us. We accepted that on its face value. The person didn't do what they were supposed to do, and judge it as you will. Here he is 3 years later, 3 years out of status. So we mentioned this as a story, and we filmed him when he came up here, and we did what we usually do. We put the video on and then step back and see what happens. Well, a couple of fellow Canadians came to, and they put together a total of 17,000 plus pesos to help him. He had a ticket to Manila, and the plan as we knew it then was that he would present himself at the Canadian Embassy, and a lot of you already said that it was a sure thing that they would settle the whole thing and then collect the money for him from him when he got back to Canada, and that's what we were kind of thinking would happen. Not so. He is now back. I haven't seen him. He's now back, but today I picked up his wife and child at the bottom of the road, which is close to Tanghaligi. So we'd already said to her, look, we pick up a pile of kids and adults on Sunday, so why don't you come to church and tell us what's happening. So we picked her up today and brought her into church. Beth had a chat with her, I had a chat with her on the way, and she told me what was happening. Now when we went round to see her and hand over some support money that we'd been given from Paul and Dude, extraordinary team of helpers who have come through on so many things, and boy, it's almost a sure thing that if any crisis comes up and they are possibly in a situation where they can help, it's there. So we had that money, and we took that money up, and we took Roger, and Roger met the wife. Now, I'll say wife, it turns out that it's a common law wife, so what shall we call her, wife or girlfriend? Well, anyway, we took Roger with us, and I think that Roger gave us some support as well. Now, Paul and Dude have agreed and pledged to give her 2 months of 2,500, I think it is, that they're going to give her. So that money has already gone to her, and next month it will be there again. You can depend on it. Well, the message secondhand from Allan was that he went to the embassy. They have negotiated, is what I'm told, with immigration of the Philippines, and the 3 years that he would owe for immigration and for the overstay has been cut down to half. So the money that he got from his Canadian fellows, I think, has been pretty well gone. He's paid that debt, and now he's returned, and he tells us through his girlfriend that he needs to now come up with a ticket. This is against what most of you who seem to know, and I don't, who seem to know what the routine was, that in effect he could get the I don't know, the immigration. He could get immigration to front the money for a ticket, or he could get the Canadian embassy to do it. Now, I don't know who's doing what or who's supposed to do what, but he tells us through his girlfriend that he needs to get a ticket. I'm giving you the story as I hear it, and you will make your own judgments. As one man said, will we ever know the truth? I questioned his girlfriend more without wanting to be intrusive, but I ended up, and I did say, are you and Allan married? Do you mind if I ask? Can I ask, are you and Allan married? And she said no. And I said, why would you not be married? Not that I'm an establishment type of guy, but unfortunately, when you're in situations where you're dependent on government responses, then these documents are important, and that's the point that I put to her. And she said, Allan tells me, she said, Allan doesn't think that being married is important. And I said, and what do you think? And it sounded to me like she was paraphrasing what Allan had said. So it's not important. Well, if you're all installed and happily living and earning a living and living a life in your country, and you meet someone who is also of your country, you can live together and live quite happily together. And whether you are joined in the eyes of the Lord may be something that you don't think is very important. So we won't make a judgment on that, except that it does beg the question. She said that Allan had mentioned, that Allan had said something about a past relationship that had gone wrong. It begs the question, is he still married? And the answer to that was yes. So we're really looking at a mess. Now, another thing came in, which somebody already commented on this, and Beth confirmed it, that he had said that his brother, was it his brother or his son? I think it was his son. That's right, it was his son, had started paperwork off to get the child into Canada. Now, that would be a long-term goal. It would not be something that will happen, say, in 6 months or a year, but it would eventually happen, because governments are most at their most benevolent when it's talking about getting families together. Not husbands and wives type families always, but for instance, if you are sponsored into any different country, certainly America and apparently Canada and the UK, if you're sponsoring your sister or your brother, son, father, mother, daughter, then you will get them in. Which then again begs another question to the girlfriend, to the mother of the child. Would you be prepared to let the child go if you were not included? And she said, well, Allan says that the child would have a great advantage, a great, well, a greater life. Is, boy, that could stand some severe discussion about whether that would be true. But anyway, certainly it would be a more materialistic, secure, financially more secure life, I think, than if the child stays in the Philippines. But there's nothing that's guaranteed on any of that. But that was what emerged. So it also begged the question, what about you? I'm asking her. So what about you? And I told her that quite a few people were concerned about her. She's very grateful for that. But I'm kind of a little bit on the fence about this one. They came to us, we didn't search them out. They came to us for help, and we did the story. And two fellow Canadians stepped up and helped. And that's where we are as of right now. And the man has returned, and you will make your own judgment, and you'll make your own choices as to what happens next. He says, through his girlfriend, that he's not looking for cash, and that if somebody stepped up and bought him a ticket home, he would be very happy with that, and I'm sure that he would. This is a foreigner in the Philippines, an update which surely will will create a lot of comments. By all means, state your case, but keep it nice. Okay, we can still differ in our opinion. We can still say our misgivings. We can express our misgivings as I have done here. We can do it with a civil tongue. That's all I ask. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.